Original, if you can sort of remember and sort of pigeonhole those original talks compared with what you learned afterwards, was there anything in that that really made you think, well, this is different to anything I've ever heard before? Anything that you thought you knew about God or thought you knew about the Bible? Was anything brought in that was different, or did it appear to be much the same, some slight differences, but just sort of denominational differences, or was it a real different message?
Well, it seemed, I mean, because they use Christian terminology, I suppose, if you're not familiar with the Christian faith, then it can seem very Christian. I said that they seem to have all the answers. My problem was I didn't have all the questions,
right?
You see. Let me ask you a question, Doug. I want to go off on one now, okay?
Yeah.
Stick with me. This is going somewhere,
okay.
Right? Do you like apples?
I love apples. Well, I love certain types of apples.
What's your favourite apple?
Probably a Cox's.
A Cox's Orange Pippin.
Yeah.
It's a wonderful British apple.
Absolutely.
It really is. My favourite apple is either Braeburn or a russet.
All right.
Top of the list for me is a russet. They only come around this time of the year.
Okay.
About Christmas time. And they're really nice apples. But I've tasted a lot of apples, you know. Washington Red is a very nice apple from up there in the northwest of America. But it's a bit big. So you have to have an appetite to eat the Washington Red,
or a
you
big
know?
mouth, one of the two.
Yeah, or a big mouth, yeah. And you get such a variety of apples. But my favourite is this russet. And I know it's my favourite because I've tasted so many apples, okay? And it's a question of choice then, isn't it? It's a question of being able to know what's out there.
Yeah.
Now, once upon a time, when I was a very young man, I worked with a company that sold household products. Okay, it was a reputable company, never mind what it was called, and we sold detergents and soaps and that kind of thing. And we had a washing up liquid.
Right.
And the way we demonstrated the washing up liquid, okay, is we would take an empty bottle that was clean and dry and put about 1 inch of water in the bottom. Then we would take the washing up liquid and dip a matchstick into that. So all you had was what was on the matchstick.
Right.
You pop that into the bottle, close the lid, and you shake the bottle.
Yeah.
Well, this would froth up a storm. It really was very impressive. And I was so impressed with this, and I really believed in the product. And it was a good product. You know, I'm not saying it wasn't. But I showed it to a friend one day. And I said, now, isn't that good? And he said to me, yes, but have you tried it with any other washing up liquids?
Right.
And I said, no, I hadn't. So you were giving the impression in selling this product that compared with others, it was better. But you hadn't actually gone to the trouble of making the comparison.
Right.
You hadn't done anything. You would just show them this product. The same happens with Mormonism. They come along, they show you these lessons, these discussions. They sound Christian, and certainly the Mormon people are lovely people, but that's all they show you. And you get the impression that you're making a direct comparison, when in actual fact, you probably take more trouble in selecting your choice of apples than in selecting your choice of religion.
Yeah.
When you become a Mormon, because you're not comparing it with anything else. Now, of course, there will be people out there who will say, well, I have a Christian background, so I've made that comparison. Okay, I can accept that. But for most people, it isn't like that. Right. And it wasn't for me. So I'm not mocking or getting at people when I use that illustration. I'm saying that's how I chose.
Yeah.
That's how my wife chose. That's how most of the Mormons I've ever known chose their faith. Right. They didn't make a direct comparison. When the Mormons came along and said this text means this, they didn't stop and think, but is that the only interpretation? Is there another way of looking at this? They just assumed that compared with whatever was out there, this has to be the truth.
So, Mike, you didn't make the comparison, but it sounded so good, it sounded so real. And so how did you join the Mormon Church?
I got baptized. What they do is they set a date for your baptism, and then you go along and you get baptized, and they pray over you. They give you the gift of the Holy Ghost, as they say. And then you go on from there and you progress in the faith.
Right. And so we hear about these, which we're probably talking about, these secret or sacred temple ceremonies and baptism for the dead. But it doesn't start there, does it?
No, that comes much later on.
Right. And so you actually get baptized by full immersion in the Mormon church building?
Yes. There's a pool in every Mormon church building,
right.
and you get baptized by full immersion.
And that you are then a member of the Mormon Church. No ifs, buts, maybes. That's
yes. Your name is on the records. You're a member of the Mormon Church. It's very tidy. You know what's going on. You understand what's happening to you. You know, if you have any questions, you can ask your questions. But certainly at that point, you become officially a member of the Mormon Church.
And what was it like? I mean, what, 18, 19 at this point?
18, 19 years of age, yeah.
And they were, what was it like to suddenly be going to church on once or twice on Sundays or whatever? You hadn't done it all your life, and all whatever else went with it. What was it like?
It was strange, you know. It's the same as anybody joining a faith. If you're going to become a Christian, join a Baptist church or a Pentecostal church or whatever, if you don't have any kind of religious experience, everything is new to you. Everything is strange to you. Attending church, listening to people, praying. What a
But some of our folks out there, Mike, have heard some weird stories about what Mormons believe, that God was once a man, he lives on a planet Kolob, and he has many wives, and they would be thinking, Mike, you must have had a screw loose to accept that. But it seems to me what you're saying is when you first went into Mormonism, you had no idea of those teachings. Is that true?
Yes, it's you sort of, the way the Mormons look at it, and it is really only fair that you should see it the way the Mormons look at it before you condemn.
Yeah.
The way the Mormons look on it, it's they give you the milk first, and then they give you the meat. It's precept upon precept. That's the way they see it. So it's not so much that they're holding things back from you, it's that they're preparing you for more knowledge.
Right.
I didn't know much of the stuff that later on you come to learn, but it's not as if they hide it from you. It's just that eventually you will come to know it.
Yeah. So when you first heard that God lived on a planet, what was your reaction?
Well, you see, I didn't know anything about God in the first place.
Right. So it was not a problem to you.
So a Christian meeting a Mormon might say, but wait a minute, God is spirit.
Yeah.
And God is everywhere. So he's not confined to one space. But I didn't know any of that.
Right.
And it's like there's an awful lot of wacky ideas in the world. You know, it's not just the Mormons who got them. I know some pretty wacky Christians.